Hello fellow cinephiles, Film Guru here. Today I'm reviewing An American Pickle. This was based upon the short story by Simon Rich, who also serves as screenwriter, and was directed by Brandon Troust. It stars Seth Rogen and Sarah Snook. The film really focuses on Herschel Greenbaum, played by Seth Rogen. We first meet him in 1919, and he ultimately is a struggling man. He falls in love with a local girl and ultimately marries her, and dreams of having a better life and a bigger life, and providing for her as well as for himself. Belongings and head to where people mostly go, especially in that era, to become successful, America. While he's in America, he gets a job in a pickle factory. Due to an accident, he falls into a vat of pickles, and the factory itself is condemned, and ultimately becomes trapped in there and is solidified for 100 years. Everything he's known and loved is now dead, and he struggles to make sense of the world he's found himself in. Ultimately, he finds out he still has family in the area, in Brooklyn, a great-grandson named Ben Greenbaum. And ultimately they unite. It's a really interesting contrast between the two. Herschel's sort of this old sort of generational man who's found himself in present times and doesn't really know how to interact with people, or there's so many different things happening, he doesn't make sense of them, like when he first sees a car, or seeing people on the street, or seeing how much things have changed. And Ben really tries to help him make sense of things and tries to help him sort of fit into the world in a way and teach him things. But ultimately there's a falling out between the two men, and it becomes a battle of will. They sort of try and one-up each other and cause havoc for their lives. And they clash quite a bit. Herschel becomes obsessed with buying this plot where his wife is buried and goes about creating a business, selling pickles. Ultimately, Ben tries to destroy that, and it's sort of about how they're trying to destroy each other in many ways. It sort of looks at how the media plays into this sort of stuff, how one day a person can look like a hero, or the next he can be destitute and have nothing just by something he says. At each turn, Ben points Herschel in the wrong direction. It only leads to these two men accepting each other for who they are and accepting the idea of family and trying to come together and do something with purpose to ultimately fulfill a goal, or ultimately making the Greenbaum name successful. And it's really about how these two men reconnect. Look, I like this film. I saw the trailer for it, I thought it looked interesting and different. There was something about it that was drawing me to it. It wasn't quite what I expected, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless. There was something really fascinating about it. It's from the opening sequence when it's shot in a different ratios, to film in a 4:3 ratio, like an old TV. And there is some odd humor in this sort of sequence that sort of, I don't know, it feels a bit slapsticky in parts, but some of the humor does work. And then ultimately when he's thrust into the present day, the ratio changes into the normal letterbox ratio, which I thought was a really interesting thing to do, and the way to go about it. It was a real contrast between 1919 and present day, and I really like that. Now, I'm not the hugest fan of Seth Rogen. Some of the stuff he's done I've enjoyed, but I just find he goes too far over the top. He's too much sometimes, and he keeps trying to do one-liner jokes that don't always work. And for the most part, he's solid here, especially as Herschel. But when it comes to the Ben character that he also plays, he's just sort of that annoying, sort of rude character, and I don't really care much for that. But besides that, as Herschel, he's brilliant. Herschel is a really interesting character. I really like he has morals, he's really driven, he wants his family name to be successful. He wants to support his family and the people around him. He got a true essence of what family's about. He's a very driven man. When he gets an idea in his head, he goes about accomplishing his goal no matter what happens, and he keeps persevering no matter what. And I thought this was a really interesting thing. I liked how the way he looked at the world and how he was, you know, his world was 100 years ago, and to see modern times, and he doesn't really know what's going on. He doesn't really understand certain things. His sequences where he is in front of a camera and they're asking him, what do you think of all of this? And he goes, I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand what's happening. And they take it on as him saying he doesn't understand what's happening in the world. Not that he's confused. The media really make him into something that he may not necessarily be. And the way he handles that and goes about things. He sees things in black and white, good and bad. And that's due to where he came from when he's growing up. This adds a lot to the character that is really fascinating to watch on screen. There are moments where he's a little much, but I think this is Seth Rogen's best role as Herschel Greenbaum. I think he's so great in this, and it is the one role that I was really impressed with him in it. But like I said, when it came to the Ben Greenbaum character, his great-grandson, I just found him annoying and obnoxious and all the things I don't really like about him. There is an arc for Ben where he starts sort of being confrontational and against his great-grandfather, and then ultimately accepting things and creating a really great bond with Herschel. I found this film entertaining and fun. I think all the acting was solid besides Seth Rogen. Sarah Snook, a great Australian actress. If you haven't seen her in Predestination, I highly recommend that. She's brilliant in it. She does a really great job here. She plays Sarah, his wife, and she has strong moments and comical moments. She's not in a lot of the film, but most of her scenes obviously take place at the start of the film. But I really like the chemistry between her and Seth Rogen, and she's quite an interesting actress, and I think she's really solid here and gives a lot of heart to the Sarah character, and really is the heart of the family. I think this differs from a lot of Seth Rogen's films. There's a lot more heart here. Yes, he didn't write or direct it, and he was just in it, but it just feels like there's a lot more heart, and he conveys so much more here than he's had the opportunity to do in his previous films. There's a real depth to the Herschel character, like I said, and you just really feel for him, and you're invested in the character, and you want to see him succeed, and you want to see him try and find a way to accept his surroundings and where he finds himself today, and I really like that. The scenes that really sort of stick out for me here are when he's starting his pickle business and how he goes about doing that, and he's relentless about achieving things no matter what, and when he says he's going to do something, he does it, and I think that's great. I like when he sort of gets thrust into the world by himself and he's trying to make sense of it, how everything's changed, the fact he's lost his family, and he's just sort of a bit lost, a character just sort of drifting through life until he ultimately finds his great-grandson. And I just thought the scenes where he's lost like that or trying to make something of himself is probably the most interesting scenes. There's a scene at the start where there's this, as they call it, a bog where they go in the 1919. It's Herschel and Sarah, and they're sitting down on this log and talking about things they really want and things that they look forward to. The scene is sort of powerful, talking about the dreams they have and him wanting to give her everything she wants and wanting her to have the things that she wants. That she sort of puts her hand on his shoulder as if to comfort him, as if to say, you know, we're in this together. And that's something he says to her, you know, no matter what we do, we'll do it together. And then this scene is mirrored later in the film, and it's an anchoring point. And you see it's Herschel and Ben sitting on the same log in front of the same bog, but they really share the same moment where Ben talks about how he's good at websites and stuff like that, and he can help Herschel sell his pickles online. And there's this real bonding moment. And then Herschel puts his hand on Ben's shoulder, mirroring this scene completely. Like it's come completely full circle. And this scene really had an effect on me. It was really, I don't know, it sort of made me a bit emotional because it was so powerful in its simplicity, and it meant so much because of where we first saw this scene take place. I thought it was just a powerful scene. The only negative I would say about this film is, like I said, is that Seth Rogen, that arrogance that comes out, that sort of trying too hard to be funny, one-liners that don't kind of work, and he just comes across as sort of a really mean sort of character when he's playing Ben. And the other thing would be the humour. It's a bit slapsticky in parts, to sort of one-liners in another, and it's just sort of silly humour at times. And I just felt this took away from the film a little bit. Yes, it was humorous. Yes, it was humorous in some of those moments, but I just felt it took away from the story it was trying to tell. I felt it could have been a much more dramatic film with a little less slapsticky humour than it actually had. But besides that, I enjoy my experience with it. It's on my top 10 of this year at number 3. I think it's a really solid film. Final thoughts. Really, at the essence, this film is about family and how sometimes family members, especially from different generations, can clash. I'm going to give An American Pickle 4 out of 5. I thought this film was solid, interesting, had funny moments, and it just was a very entertaining and humorous film. Anyway, that's all from me today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit the subscribe button at the bottom. Follow me on Facebook. Otherwise, until next time, enjoy the movies.